Welcome to this quick and amazing guide on data types in Java. Java is a programming language that is widely used for building enterprise-grade software and web applications. One of its key features is the way it handles and manipulates data. And in this video, we'll take a look at the different data types available in Java. Whether you are a beginner or an experienced Java programmer, this video will give you a quick and easy introduction to the different data types available in this programming language. Before we start with the topic, if you enjoy watching these videos and find them interesting, please subscribe to our channel because we bring the best videos for you daily. Also hit the bell icon to get notified whenever we drop a new video. If you are eager to enhance your coding skills across various domains of software engineering, you might want to consider a Caltech coding bootcamp. With a state-of-the-art Caltech coding bootcamp, you can learn to code and become a full-stack developer within 6 months. Get fully immersed in this accelerated coding bootcamp and become a valued software engineer ready to take on any challenges on the job. This bootcamp covers the basics of several different frameworks including Spring Boot, web services, servlets and JSPs, MVC, JavaScript, MongoDB and much more. These skills will empower you to kickstart your career as a versatile full-stack developer. So take advantage of this opportunity. The course link is provided in the description box below. So without any further delay, let's hand over this session to our training experts.
Let's get started with today's topic, which is about primitive data types in Java. We are going to learn about the primitive data types in Java and we'll also see a short demonstration of it. So let's get started. Let's first just learn about those data types. I've just opened the official Oracle documentation. And don't worry if you see how this link appears here. You can just open a browser window and just type Java primitive data types. And if you hit enter, the first link which you will be given is this particular link. And this is the same link which I have opened. So let's learn about the data types now. So Java has these primitive data types, which you can see here. Some of them store numbers, some of them store Boolean values, and some of them store characters. So the data types which store numbers are byte, short, int, long, float, and double. These 6 data types basically are used to store any kind of numeric value. Let's understand these a bit more. Byte is the shortest possible data type value which you can use in Java to store numbers. You can only store numbers within the range of -128 to +127. So you can see the range is very small. And Java has created this variable for use cases where you want to store numbers which have very small value in this range. Why do we provide these kind of options? Just to save memory, because the smaller data type will require less memory to be used in the Java program. Similarly, the next bigger data type is short, which is a bit bigger than byte. And the range of this particular data type variables will range from -32678 to +32767. So that is the range for this particular variable. And you can see that it has a very big range as compared to the byte data type. So if you want to store values which lie in this range, you can use short. The next one is int data type. You can use this one to store even larger values, which range from -2 raised to power 31 to +2 raised to power 31 minus 1. The next one is long, which is even bigger than int, and it can be used to store the values within the range of -2 raised to power 63 to +2 raised to power 63 minus 1. So as you can see, as we go from top to bottom, from byte to long, the size of the value which can be stored using this data type increases. And that's how you will basically take a decision of whether you want to use byte or you want to use short or int or long, based on what size of the value that variable is going to contain. Then the next ones are float and double. These two have been created for the use cases where you want to store the values, numeric values, which have decimals, which are precision values. I should also mention that byte, short, int, and long are only used for storing absolute numbers which do not have any decimal representation. Even if you try to store a decimal value in these variables, they will automatically be trimmed. The decimal values will automatically be removed and you will only be shown the absolute values. And in case of float and double, they can maintain those precision and decimal values. So we use float for the use cases where you want to store decimal representations of the values. And you can see that the float value can store a smaller precision value, but double can store even a bigger precision value. So if you have really big precision values to be maintained, very big decimal values to be maintained, you should use double. And the float is used for storing a bit smaller size of the precision values. I mean, its range of values basically beyond the scope of this discussion. If you want to read more about this, you can go to these particular links, which will explain this in detail. But the basic idea is that float is good for storing two precision values. And if you want to go beyond that, you want to use double. In some cases, some people also use float to store even beyond two values as well. So it completely depends. The decision factor is how long the value you are going to store in the decimal. And that will decide whether you want to use float or double. The next one is Boolean, which is used for storing the Boolean values. Boolean values can be either true or false. So there are only two possible values. And then we have char, which is used for storing characters. It is using 16-bit to store the value. And this is a very popular Java question for beginner level programmers, that why does it need 16-bit to store the character? It's because it stores a Unicode representation. Unicode representation is the representation which can be accepted across platforms across the world in different character encodings. So let's move on to Eclipse now, where I have prepared a very short and simple demo. I'm just creating a variable for each data type and I'm printing them. You also see some things here like these keywords, and don't worry about these keywords. I will cover these keywords in detail in the upcoming lectures. You also see this, and you can just, for now, you can remember that system.out.println is used for printing anything in Java. Anything you want to print on the console, you would be using system.out.println. What is system, what is out, and what is println? Again, we will cover these in the upcoming lectures. For now, I'm just creating a bunch of data types here, variables here basically. I'm creating a char type variable, a byte type variable, a short type variable, an int type variable, a float type variable, a double, and a Boolean. The way you create variables is basically you put the data type name, you put the variable name, which can be anything, you put an equal sign, and you put the value, actual value which this variable is going to store. And I've done the similar thing for all of these variables. Java wants semicolons to be there when you write your statements. So please remember that your statements always end with semicolons. So I've declared all of these variables here, a byte, a short, an int, float, double, and Boolean. And then I'm printing all of them basically. Here I'm printing the char variable. Here I'm printing the byte variable. Here I'm printing the short, and so on and so forth. So how do we actually run this application or this program? You just double click on this or right click on this. You go to this run as option. You see this run as Java application option. So you can hit this option. It will run the application and it will present all the output here in the console tab. Let me just bring this up. So you can see all the variables have been printed here, and this is coming from these print statements. Like I said, this is used, system.out.println is used to basically print anything. And I've used that to print all the variables here. First, I'm printing the char variable whose value is A. Then I'm using the byte variable, which is denoted by B and whose value is 2. So you can see the value is 2 here. Then I'm printing the third variable, which is C, which is a short type variable, which has a value 22. You can see short, and this is coming here. The next print statement is int. So you can see int here with the value 45, and this value is coming from here. Then we have float. You can see the float value being printed here, and you can see the float value declared here. You also see an F here, and this is the standard naming convention which Java proposes, that whenever you declare float and double, you end them with F or D based on whether it is float or it is double. Then you see the double value, which is having a bigger precision than float. So I've printed the double value using this particular print statement, which is printed here. And then we have the Boolean value, which is stored as G, and the value of G is true, and the same value is printed here. So whatever I write here basically is printed here. This is just a placeholder, and this is the actual value. So you can see that we are able to use all the variables here all the primitive variables basically, which range from byte, character, byte, short, int, float, double, and boolean. When we talk about which all are the non-primitive data types, we broadly talk about arrays, we talk about classes, we talk about strings as well. And we will cover some of them in today's lecture. And we have a detailed lecture upcoming about the classes as well. In fact, after a few lectures, we'll cover how we'll create classes as well. But for today's lecture, we are going to focus on string data type and array data type. And like I said, for classes, we have a dedicated lecture upcoming. So don't worry about that. And again, for this particular case as well, I have already prepared a demo for this, and we'll basically do some look at some hands-on examples to see how do we create these variables, what does these variables mean. And the first non-primitive data type we are going to talk about is string. And before I go on further, I should also mention that it's very debatable in the Java community to call string as a non-primitive data type. And actually, technically speaking, string is a special data type. It neither fully lies in the primitive category, nor it fully lies in the non-primitive categories. I'm covering this as a non-primitive data type because it's a bit inclined towards the non-primitive category. Why do we do this? Is because Java does provide native support for string handling in the JDK. And that's the reason some of the developers feel that string is a primitive data type, which is primitively supported by Java. But at the same time, string is so customizable and it's so special in nature. It's the way it stores the value, the way it provides the operations and handlings. It's so different than primitive data types that it cannot fully be put in the same bucket as the primitive data types. So that's why I said it's a special data type, a bit inclined towards the non-primitive category. So what is string basically? We covered about the char data type in the previous lecture. And in char data type, you can only store a single character, right? But if you want to store a complete name of somebody, then it's a list of characters. It's basically a lot of characters together. Then in that case, you would need a data type to store that continuous sequence of characters. And that's what string does. String can store a continuous sequence of characters. Technically, string is basically a character array. You can call string as a character array. And don't worry if you don't understand about the word array. I will explain that in the same lecture. So basically, it stores the continuous sequence of characters. That's how we define string. And you see this string. This is basically the keyword, the data type basically in Java. So whenever you want to create a string, you need to write string with S capital. You need to give a name to the string. This can be anything. And then you can provide the value, which this particular string is going to contain. So you can see this is a continuous sequence of characters. TEST are the 4 characters which this string is going to contain. And after that, again, I'm printing this particular value. And like I said, don't worry about this. We'll cover this when we'll write our first program in Java. So this is just to print the string value. I'm just putting a string placeholder here, and then I'm actually printing the values of the string variable. Now, string can be created in multiple ways in Java. This is one way of creating it. There's another way of creating a string variable, which is this one, which says, again, the string data type, some variable name, a keyword called new. Again, don't worry about what is this new keyword. We'll cover this when we'll talk about running our first program in Java and writing the first program from scratch. Then we again say string, and then we provide the value. So if I compare this line number 4 to line number 7, you can see the difference is that I'm still storing the same value, test, but the difference is that here there is no new string keyword, but here we have this new string keyword. So what is the difference? The difference is this, that in this case, in this particular case, string is going to reuse the same object multiple times. But in this case, every time you call this, it is going to create a new object. Again, what is object? It's just, you can think of it as, for now, you can think of it as a memory block. We'll again cover objects in details. But these are 2 different ways in which you can create string. This is generally the most popular way of doing it because this is memory efficient, because you can reuse the same variable again and again. So I'm creating the string variable here and creating another string variable str1 here and printing both of them. Then I've created this strange looking thing here, which is basically an array. Array, like I said, is also a non-primitive data type in Java, and array can store a continuous sequence of anything. That anything can be a number, that anything can be characters, that anything can be a floating number as well. So basic idea is that if you want to store a collection or sequence of multiple values, how do you do that? You do that with the help of arrays. Array is a data structure, a non-primitive data structure in Java, which can store lot of values of similar type. We also call it as homogeneous data structure, because it can only store same data type values or homogeneous data type values. So the biggest way to identify array is this square bracket. Whenever you see this square bracket in Java, it means it's an array variable. So here I am creating an integer array variable with the name ARR. This is the name of this particular array. It is only going to store integer values because I've specified int. And the moment I provide the square brackets, it means that it is an array. So you can declare an array like this, and then you need to assign a size to the array. Size is basically denoting how many values this data structure is going to store. So I'm saying new, again, it's a keyword, and I'm saying that, okay, create a memory block for storing 2 integers. So this particular array ARR can store at max 2 values at continuous locations. The next thing about array is that it stores the value in a 0 index based location. So like I said, it can store 2 values. So the first location will always be array of 0. And this is how you specify the location or index of the element which is going to be stored. So at the 0th location of this array, I'm storing 0. The first location of the array, I'm storing 1. And this is just to show an error scenario, but I will just comment this for now. You can just put double slashes and comment any line. So I'm just filling up this array for 2 values, and the 2 values location would be 0 index and first index. These are just continuous memory locations, and we denote those memory locations as 0 and 1. Array indexes always start with 0, and I'm just putting some values here. You can put any values. And then I'm printing the whole array, and I'm also printing the first value of the array. And we'll see how this pans out, and we'll also see how we can change this. So now we are going to run this application. So I'll just go to run as and click on run as Java application. And once I hit that, I get this output here. So let's understand this output. The first one is I'm just printing the string, which has the value test. And you can see it has printed here. It is coming from this line. Then the next line which is printed is line number 8, where I'm saying another string str1, and str1 also had the same value. So you can see another string has the same value. And then I have printed the array here, the complete array. And you see this strange value here. It also tells us that if you want to print the array, then you cannot just put the variable name and print it. The reason is because this is a non-primitive data type. And once you do this, it is basically printing the memory footprint of this array, the whole memory location where this array is stored. That's why you see this strange looking number, which is the memory hash code. And if you want to print any particular value or any particular element inside this array, then you can do that by providing the index location of that element. So here I've said that print the 0th location element of the array. The 0th location element of the array was 0. So you can see the value 0 here. Let me put some other value just for fun and show you how this works. So I've just changed the values, and now let's see what do we get for array 0. You can see now I get value 3 because now at the 0th location, the 3 value is being stored, and that is what is being printed here. We can also print the first value. I'll just go run as Java application. You can see now the array of first index is being stored, which is basically technically the second element of the array. But because array always works on a 0 index based value format, that's why when we say array 1, the second element is printed. When I say array 0, the first element is printed. So always remember that array is a 0 index based collection or data structure basically. What happens if I do this? Now there is no third element in this array because the array has the size only of 2 elements. And when I say ARR of 2, which means I'm trying to print the third element in this array, which does not exist. So let's see what happens in that case. I get an exception. Exception is basically an error. I get an error saying that index 2 is out of bounds for length 2. It means that the array length was actually 2 and index 2 does not exist. Remember, it's saying index 2, not the element 2. Index 2 doesn't exist because only index 0 and index 1 exist. This makes 2 elements and the actual size is also 2. It does not have capacity to store third element. It does not have third element location anywhere. That's why it complains that you are trying to print a non-existing value.
And with that, we have come to the end of this tutorial on data types in Java. I hope you guys must have got a good idea about what data types are and how to use them. If you feel that we have missed out on some important topic that we were supposed to cover in this video, or if you have any doubt related to any of the topics we have covered in this video, then please feel free to drop them down in the comment section below, and a team of experts will definitely answer them for you. So thank you so much for being here, guys. We'll see you next time. Until then, keep learning and stay tuned to Simplilearn.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.